Prince Harry left the British tabloids toothless and speechless. With one powerful declaration, he silenced the noise that for years had tried to overshadow his truth. Standing with global leaders and thinkers in a united call to safeguard humanity, he said with calm authority, "The future of AI should serve humanity, not replace it. The true test of progress will be not how fast we move, but how wisely we steer." Those words, brief as they seemed, rippled across nations, shaking boardrooms, universities, and media houses. The world stood still. It was not the voice of a prince demanding attention. It was the voice of a man whose empathy had evolved into leadership, whose conviction now carried the weight of moral clarity. When Prince Harry spoke, it wasn't from a place of privilege or vanity. It was from the deep well of lived experience, reflection, and responsibility. His statement wasn't just a warning, it was a compass, pointing the world back toward ethics, humility, and humanity at a time when innovation often outpaces conscience. Those who had mocked him for stepping away from royal pomp suddenly found themselves speechless before his intellectual maturity. The very press that had once reduced him to caricature now found itself stripped of words, toothless before truth. Because Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, spoke not as a figurehead, but as a man of vision, one who had seen what unchecked power could do in institutions, media, and now technology. His words, "Serve humanity, not replace it," carried the resonance of someone who understood that progress without empathy becomes peril, that intelligence without soul becomes tyranny. As he stood before an audience of global leaders, thinkers, and innovators, there was no trace of performative politics, only sincerity. He didn't raise his voice, he didn't dramatize. Yet the force of his authenticity made the room vibrate with silence. The message was simple but monumental. Humanity must remain the heart of every algorithm, the pulse behind every machine, the conscience guiding every invention. The world has always known Harry as the soldier, the advocate, the humanitarian, and the son carrying forward his mother's legacy of compassion. But on this day, he became something larger, a philosopher of conscience in an age of computation. His declaration wasn't about code, it was about the soul. In a time when artificial intelligence threatens to reshape existence itself, Prince Harry reminded humanity of something timeless, that progress measured only by speed is not progress at all, but chaos disguised as achievement. The applause that followed wasn't just polite, it was reverent. People rose, not because protocol demanded it, but because they felt gratitude. Gratitude for someone who dared to speak truth to innovation, who dared to insist that technology without morality is nothing but power without direction. For once, headlines didn't chase scandal or gossip, they carried awe. Prince Harry calls for wisdom in the age of machines, a royal voice of reason in the AI revolution. Prince Harry, humanity before hype. The tabloids could not spin it, they could not distort it. Because wisdom, when spoken with clarity, is impervious to smear. Harry's tone was both compassionate and commanding, speaking to every corner of society, from the engineers designing algorithms to the teachers wondering how to guide children in a changing world. "We must build technology that lifts people up, not leaves them behind," he continued, expanding on his vision. "The goal is not to replace human connection, but to deepen it. The moment we surrender our moral compass to machinery, we lose not just control, but ourselves." These weren't the words of a celebrity. They were the words of a statesman in the truest sense, one who measures progress not in profits or patents, but in how it preserves dignity, fairness, and love. Harry's concern wasn't hypothetical. He had seen firsthand how systems, whether media, monarchy, or machine, can strip people of humanity in pursuit of control. His insight into power, gained through struggle and survival, gave his voice authority that no crown could confer. In that moment, the world saw not the spare of a royal lineage, but the successor of a moral one. His mother's spirit alive in him, transformed into 21st century purpose. Diana fought for compassion in an era of division. Harry now fights for conscience in an era of automation. His journey from the battlefield to the humanitarian stage, from media victim to global moral voice, reached a new height in this declaration. The beauty of his speech lay in its simplicity. How wisely we steer. The phrase lingered like poetry. It was both an invitation and a warning. He urged developers and governments to build systems guided by values, not merely velocity. Let us not mistake momentum for meaning, he added. The question is not whether AI can think, but whether humanity can still feel. Those words burned into the collective conscience. Around the world, educators quoted him, ethicists cited him, and students wrote his lines into essays. His appeal transcended politics. It was a universal call for stewardship. And in his quiet, humble manner, he turned what could have been another routine policy statement into a moral awakening. For years, the British tabloids had mocked his intellect, belittled his compassion, and twisted his words. But here he was, standing shoulder to shoulder with Nobel laureates, scientists and presidents, his ideas shaping the global conversation. They called him naive when he spoke of empathy. They laughed when he spoke of mental health. They sneered when he spoke of love over duty. But today, they had no laughter left. Prince Harry had ascended beyond their reach. His wisdom had rendered their cynicism obsolete. As he spoke about the purpose of AI, there was a serenity in his expression, a reflection of a man who had made peace with himself and was now ready to serve the greater human cause. Technology must reflect the best of us, not the worst, he said. It should heal divides, not widen them. The promise of AI is not to replace human imagination, but to empower it. We must ensure that the story of tomorrow is still written by human hands, with empathy as its ink. Every sentence was a bridge between generations, between coders and children, between dreamers and decision-makers. His words travelled through the conference hall and into hearts, finding their way into homes, classrooms, and laboratories around the world. The tabloids, who had spent decades reducing him to headlines, were left behind in the dust of irrelevance. Their ink had no power against his integrity. It is one thing to be famous. It is another to be meaningful. Prince Harry has become both, an icon not of celebrity but of conscience. In a century defined by speed and spectacle, he stands as a reminder that authenticity still commands attention. His legacy will not be built on scandals or scandals refuted, but on the moments when he rose above noise to speak for what is right. The tenderness in his tone recalled the boy who walked behind his mother's coffin, and the strength in his words reflected the man who refuses to let her compassion die. When he said, "The future of AI should serve humanity," it was as if he were speaking to her memory, to the same principle that drove her to hold the hands of the marginalized and challenge indifference. He inherited not her crown, but her courage, not her title, but her truth. And so, the world listened, not because of who he was born as, but because of who he has become. A soldier turned advocate, a prince turned protector of humanity's moral future. Every phrase he uttered carried conviction, that human empathy must not be coded out of existence, that the soul must remain central even in a world of circuits. Wisdom, not speed, he repeated, will determine whether AI becomes our greatest ally or our greatest mistake. The applause swelled again, and for a moment, even time seemed to pause in reverence. In that hall, under the steady glow of global attention, Prince Harry had done something extraordinary. He restored dignity to leadership, integrity to influence, and humanity to progress. Those who had underestimated him found themselves humbled. Those who had believed in him found themselves vindicated. As his words spread across media platforms, scientists and ethicists echoed his sentiments. Universities planned courses around his message. Organizations began revisiting their AI frameworks to include moral safeguards. His statement became more than a quote, it became a movement. And behind it all stood a man who had no throne, no palace, yet carried more moral authority than any crown could offer. The tabloids could print their empty sarcasm. It didn't matter. The world had shifted. Harry's voice was now part of the global conscience. He had transcended the boundaries of royal gossip to become a voice for generations navigating an uncertain future. In him, people saw not rebellion, but renewal, not escape, but evolution. He once said that service is universal, and this too was service. Service to truth, to progress, to humanity itself. His statement on AI was more than policy, it was prophecy, because it spoke not only to machines, but to men, reminding them that no matter how intelligent our creations become, our greatest duty remains the same, to protect the sanctity of being human. And so the world will remember that on this day, when Prince Harry spoke, the noise of cynicism fell silent. He stood for something vast, timeless, and necessary. The tabloids were toothless, the critics speechless, and humanity, for once, was listening.
And that wraps our daily diaries updates. Harry and Meghan always keep the world talking. And if you enjoy this update, do not forget to like, share, subscribe, and for more royalty served with honesty, just right here on Daily Diaries Friday. Till next time, stay kind, stay curious, and keep shining. See you next time with more royal news and good vibe. Bye bye.